Hey, what is up? My name is Rubidium. I'm an Australian filmmaker now based in LA. I thought I would do a little tutorial today about self-taping on the iPhone, because self-tapes have become something that a lot of people do, not just actors, and it is really tough to have to put together an entire filming setup at the drop of a hat and make it look good. They want to know what you look like, that you can read the lines convincingly, and that there's a certain level of professionalism. So the setup I have here is this little suction mount that is stuck to the window, which is giving me a nice all-over light. And to get around the distortion of the iPhone, because the iPhone is equivalent to maybe like a 21mm lens on a 35mm camera, I've backed off a little. I'm about at arm's length from the phone, shooting in 4K, and what I'm going to do is take this into my editing software and enhance the central area so that I get something closer to a 35mm film lens. It's not a 70 or a 120, which is what I would typically shoot a close-up on, but for a self-tape with the tools that you have is great. Now, you want a window that is not in direct light, meaning the sun isn't streaming through it. If that's all you have, you can try and put a bed sheet on the outside or diffuse it somehow to make it a little softer, a little bit more flattering. But if you can find a window like this one that's south facing or north facing, you're going to get light reflected on all the things outside to fill in your face and give you a nice all over light. The other thing you can do, especially for women who want a little bit more beauty light, is to hold up a piece of card just out of frame. Let that fill in the shadows and bounce a little bit more light in. The background is something that self-tapes can be really tough with. You don't want to have to clean up your entire house or rearrange furniture or hide things every time you do a self-tape. So I've just got a bit of hobby card on a lighting stand with a clamp on top. Basically just give me a nice white, simple, plain background so all the attention is on me. There's no distractions, there's no other lights, and it doesn't need to fill the whole frame because, like I said, I'm going to crop in on the center of the frame. Sound is the other big issue with self-tapes, and there isn't really a good way around this because the omnidirectional microphone on the cell phone, on the iPhone 7, is going to pick up all the birds and the cars and everything. So I've got around that by getting a cheap lavalier mic. I think this one was $10, and putting it into an external recorder. Now, I have the H4n Pro, but you can pick ones up for much cheaper than this. There's a $100 one that Zoom makes. There's even cheaper ones. I'll list them in the description below. So if you already have a cell phone, and most of us do, you can make it work for you with self-taping and a lot of other things where you have to put yourself on camera. So let's jump into post-production. I'll show you how I took this image on the iPhone and made it look a little bit more punchy. Okay, here we are in Premiere. I've imported my file. I've also imported my audio file, and I'm gonna just right click here, say new sequence. I'm gonna go here to RE 1080p, and I happen to know that the iPhone is 1080p 29.97. So I'm gonna create a new sequence. I'm gonna call it grade. I'm going to drag in my iPhone file. Also going to drag in my audio file. Shorten that a little bit because I was talking beforehand. And it's automatically sized the iPhone to the new composition. So what I want to do is go to Effect Controls, put my scale up to say 125. Double click on it so I get my little resizer, and then just reframe myself here. Usually I want to have the room to move, so I've got some space at the top and at the head and the tail. Have this selected so that I select both audio and video, and then I'm also going to select the external audio. Click synchronize, have it selected by track channel 1. Click OK. It's going to move the external audio onto the in line with the iPhone audio, and I'm gonna just hold down shift so that it doesn't distort and just drag this up, and now move them both back. Move them both back to this space here. I have my external audio replacing the iPhone audio. So the next step is to do some light color grading. I'm already in the color tab. I'm going to click my link here, go over to basic correction. I'm going to go to my Lumetri scopes, and I actually want to keep my face, which is represented by this middle bar here. Now I'm going to go over to Lumetri. I'm going to bring up the contrast because the iPhone shoots in a sort of more flat panel, so I brought up contrast. But now my face is too bright, so I'm going to bring down the exposure a little bit. I'm going to bring up the highlights, and I'm going to down the shadows. Maybe bring the whites down. No, the whites are good there. Bring down the blacks. See, I'm a little bit too orange. See, the red is popping out here. So the temperature slider, I'm going to just move down till it's a little more human colored. Then in Creative tab, I'm going to bring the saturation down. So I still have skin tone, but it's not overpowering. Might be a little bit blue. Somewhere there. And then at the same place, I'm going to bring up the sharpness to about 20. And that looks pretty good. Close that. Go down. See all this white around me that's just sort of drawing the eye. So I'm going to go over to vignette. I'm going to drop the vignette. You can see it coming in on the edge there, all the way down to -3. As I play with this midpoint, you can see it coming in here on the sides. And I'm going to feather a little bit. So if I click this, I can see on and off. See, now it's just focusing a little bit more on my face. So go back here. I'm going to bring my highlights up a little higher. So now the warmest part of my face is still under this 80 IRE line. See that it's 80 over here. Then I can go ahead and edit and output my iPhone file into something that's a little bit more presentable. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you got something from it, and your next self-tape won't be quite as painful. I post a couple of videos a week about filmmaking, about screenwriting, cinematography, all the kind of stuff that goes with it. And this is my first sort of acting-based one, but I'm planning on doing a few more. So subscribe if you're interested in this sort of stuff. And thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.